Good afternoon. Today my audience is going to be
Put a shirt on.
Joe, Victor, Lakin, Kevin and Julie, my parents. Alright, breed restrictions are a common occurrence in today's society that ultimately give a bad rep to dogs when in fact the humans training the dogs are the ones that are at fault. Someone hears the word pit bull, for example, and he or she may think an overly aggressive, try to eat you type of dog. Hundreds of cities across the United States, the military, insurance companies, airlines, and even property managers use breed restriction legislation to prevent families from owning specific dog breeds. Breed-specific legislation majorly affects families, with the obvious victim being the dogs. Good afternoon, I'm Joshua McClelland, and I'm an advocate for the big-eyed, cuddle buddy pit bull. I would like to explain why eliminating these breed-specific restrictions would overall be beneficial to the dogs and also society as a whole. Breed-specific legislation is a term to identify specific breeds as dangerous and violent. According to dogsbite.org, these laws are constructed to limit exposure of certain breeds to different areas to prevent severe and violent attacks by animals. These laws typically target pit bulls. Other breeds sometimes included under the pit bull label include American Pit Bull Terrier, American Staffordshire Terrier, and then Staffordshire Bull Terriers. They sometimes also include American Bulldogs, Rottweilers, Mastiff variations, and Wolf hybrids, as a few other breeds that are commonly found under breed-specific legislation. All three military divisions, Navy, Army, and Air Force, had breed-specific restrictions against pit bulls, Rottweilers, and Wolf hybrids, where these dogs are not allowed in base housing or on the base at all. More often than not, insurance companies will not offer homeowners insurance to people who own dogs or rent to people that have dogs that fall under the more restricted breeds, including the pit bulls, Rottweilers, Dobermans, German Shepherds, and sometimes even Labrador Retrievers. In the past, I've been denied a rental for housing because one of my dogs is a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. And the owner of the house knew that I had them, and their insurance company would not cover us. Major airline companies, including Alaska Airlines, Delta Airlines, and American Airlines, have banned several dog and cat breeds riding in both the cabin and the luggage, making it sometimes impossible for families when they're having to travel and bring their pets to new locations upon a move. And then if it's not impossible, it can also be extremely expensive. This happens all the time, and I've seen it since I've lived in Hawaii. Enforcing dog breed-specific bans is not only hard to do, and a lot of the time ineffective, but it also wastes public resources and is hard on people's families, especially military families who are forced to move frequently. President Barack Obama himself said that breed-specific legislation is something that needs to be done away with. In a statement from the White House found on the HuffingtonPost.com, he said, "We do not support breed-specific legislation. Research shows that bans on certain types of dogs is largely ineffective and often a waste of public resources. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention studied data on dog bites and determined it was virtually impossible to narrow down bite rates to certain breeds of dog." Alright, at this time I want to introduce my guest.
You can talk.
Good. Come here. Come here. Good. Treat. Sit for me. Sit. lack of knowledge in the general public about dog breeds makes enforcing specific dog breed bans even more challenging. Just by looking at a dog, you can't accurately identify one as a pit bull because of the fact that there are so many mixes and variations of the breeds out there. Most of the time when people see an aggressive dog that may even slightly resemble a pit bull, whether it actually is or not, they're going to label it as one, which in turn is giving the name pit bull even less credit. And at this time I want to introduce Bua. He's a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. He's the original breed of pit bulls from Great Britain. He is labeled as a pit bull in many instances. Here on the base in Kaneohe, we're not allowed to live in base housing because of him, because he resembles the looks of pit bulls, and they've banned all breeds that even resemble a pit bull. But in fact, his dog breed's known as the nanny breed because they're so well-mannered and well-behaved. As a member of the military, I've been forced to live off base and pay more for my housing because of the fact that I own a Staffordshire Bull Terrier. Just like each city has different rules, each military base can also have different rules and regulations. Our previous Navy base in Washington had no breed restrictions for base housing. Pit bulls, Rottweilers, they were all allowed to live in base housing. But when we moved to Hawaii, they have regulations on the base and in the housing where none of those breeds are allowed to live here. So that's caused a great burden on our family, having to spend a lot of extra money and resources to be able to keep him. When we spoke with the housing office, they told us that since the breeds look similar, they banned all of them so no one could sneak in pit bulls on the base. With so many landlords and military bases having breed restrictions, the local animal shelters fill up fast. And what I've noticed from personal experience is that the majority of the dog shelters here in Hawaii are filled with pit bull mixes. Working at the local Humane Society, we saw plenty of pit bulls, bulldogs, and even mastiffs in the kennel waiting for forever homes. According to the Animal People online, each year about 1/3 to 45% of all pit bulls end up in shelters. About 75% of that percentage end up being put down. The money for food, shelter, and even paying for the unfortunate process of putting these dogs down could drastically be decreased by eliminating breed-specific legislation. Breed-specific legislation is a waste of time, money, and puts dogs in unnecessary situations. Dogs are born smart, kind, and lovable companions. It's the person who chooses to train larger dogs, usually pit bulls, to be aggressive and fight that causes our society to treat these breeds as if they can't do good in the world. Society's perspective needs to change on the treatment of these breeds and learn to respect their loyalty and lovable personalities. Rather than enforcing the breed-specific restrictions, eliminating these bans will save money, resources, and cut animal shelters' populations. Thank you for your time.